what we're going to talk about this morning shortly. But before that, let me just talk about a topic that we should be taking with heavy concern this morning. Let's talk about school closures caused by student unrest in the country. Is a story that has gripped headlines across the country. And I'll just give you a short summary of where we are. Let's start with Nakuru Girls High School that was closed indefinitely after a destructive student rampage of exam schedules. Students destroyed exam material and broke windows. That's the first reported case. In Kiambu County's Lari sub-county, at least 10 secondary schools shut down in 1 week due to unrest organized via WhatsApp groups involving arson, walkouts, and class disruptions. So counting those around 11. Now, about 16 schools in Western and Nyanza regions were also closed in 1 week because of dome fires, strikes, and student unrests. So if you put that together, then we're talking about what, 27, if my counting is right. And over 10 secondary schools have also reported incidents of unrest, arson, property and damage in a recent wave of conflict in multiple counties just before term exams. So those are 37. All right. Now, the Ministry of Education has also acknowledged that exam pressure and lack of communication between administration and learners are major triggers of unrest in affected schools. Now, if you go back to the recent case of Litain Boys High School, you saw yesterday that the parents and the school administration failed to get into agreement on the return to school formula. And as it stands, that school now was closed indefinitely. Now remember that the KCSE examinations are just about to begin. That means that it's up to the parents now to try and figure how they're going to get the students to do their examinations. Might be a complete delay, or those students now are going to find themselves in a very unnatural state where they have to think about how the examinations are going to be carried out. You know, just because of student unrest in schools. Purportedly, they were asked to pay 137,500 shillings to get back to school. Now imagine you're a parent and your student was a Form 4 student, was supposed to take examinations as from next month. And here you've been asked to pay 137,000 shillings to cater for the damage that has been occasioned in that school by the unrest. Oof. You know, I don't know what's going on. And I don't know whether it's exam pressure. Those are 37 schools and counting across the country. Even girls' schools are also involved in it. Is it failure of communication? Is it pressure for exams? And if it's pressure for exams, then, I mean, it's not all of them are doing exams in schools, are they? It's only Form 4s who are just about to start doing the examinations. So you wonder exactly where this pressure is coming from. What do you think the problem is in the country? You can talk to us at Look Up TV across all your social media platforms. I am at Kiage Simba. Our WhatsApp line is right there on your screen, so you can get talking to us as we ponder this school unrest question. And I do promise that probably tomorrow then we need to have a conversation with some of them right there in the studio so we can know exactly where the problem is. Is it exams? Is it failure of proper communication in the schools? What is really going on? Away from that, this morning, we have a proper conversation around organic food as well. We do know that this conversation has become one of the fastest growing conversations in Kenya, driven by rising health concerns and fears over chemical residues in our everyday meals. If you look at a Kenya Standards, Kenya Bureau of Standards CAT study, it recently found that pesticide traces in over half of vegetables sold in local markets, raising alarm on the safety of the food on the Kenyan tables. Meanwhile, just only a small fraction of the country's farmland, that's less than 5%, is certified organic, despite growing consumer demand on the global economic market, now valued at more than 200 billion US dollars. That's the conversation that we're going to have this morning. I'll be introducing the guest who's going to join us shortly so that we base that conversation properly. I'm going to ask you this morning, when somebody tells you that you should be taking organic food, do you know what that is? And if you know, then what do you know about organic food practices in the country? What is in your plate? Let's talk about that this morning then on a deeper level with our guests. Just before we get there, let's jump online and see what you are waking up. Nobody's trending. We're going to get to what is trending. What you are waking up to this morning in your dailies. And as usual, I'm going to start with the Daily Nation. It's a story of we spoke about yesterday. It's about the shattered lives of the accident that happened along Kikope, that killed 13 family members. And the names are finally out. We do have Lydia Njeri Mburu, Elijah Mburu, Robinson Karanja, Lydia Wanjiru, Beatrice Waidera, another Lydia Wanjiru as well, Evelyn Nyawira, Elijah Mburu, Loiso Wambui, there's Paulino Mudoni as well, there's Catherine Jambi, there's Naomi Wangui, and Joyce Wambui. I mean, when you start then putting the faces to the accidents that happen in this country, it shows you then why we need to have this proper conversation, by the way, about road safety in the country. 13 just killed at once, all right? Now, this is a story, and it reads, Susan Wanjiru wishes it was just a nightmare, but it isn't. Her elderly parents, her son was the driver of the ill-fated matatu, and four sisters are gone. They were among 16 relatives who left their Muranga village on Sunday for Lanette to visit an ailing kin. They never made it to their destination. You can now tell how the story was. They were going to visit an ailing relative, and they never made it to their destination. And that story has been covered on page 2 and 3. And by the way, we've seen that CCTV image of how the video, of how the accident happened. Totally avoidable when you look at exactly how it went down. You know, could be a case of reckless driving. Now we do not have victim accounts because all of them perished in that accident, so we will never know exactly what transpired, why the driver decided to overtake the way he did at that particular point when that vehicle collided with an oncoming truck. A sorry story right here. Story that we've also covered this morning, crackdown on school unrest. That story has been covered on page 4. Now, students implicated in riots will sit their national exams at designated centers outside their schools as authorities grapple with a wave of unrest. Education Cabinet Secretary Julius Ogamba has directed school managers to enforce strict disciplinary measures, including expulsion. That story has been covered on page 4 this morning. Do you think that this is a problem? That it's because of disciplinary measures in the schools? That's why we're having this unrest that we've seen recently across major secondary schools in the country. 37 by they have counted this morning. Yeah? What do you think the problem is? It looks as if even though the students of Lieutenant Boys High School, because of the state of that school, they're the ones who are going to fall in this category. They will have to sit their exams at designated centers outside their schools. Means that the Ministry of Education has to think about where these students are going to do the exams. But then you wonder about their preparation now, because you know this last mile preparations before you start doing your exams, they're very, very important. You know, that teachers have to point you out to areas that you have to touch on before you sit your exams. Now all of a sudden you're not in school, and the Ministry of Education just has to come with a center where you're going to have to do these exams, and they've already marked those schools that have been closed and damaged due to arson cases and in disciplinary cases, and now the students themselves in that school have to sit the exams separately. Now you also wonder, because there is a transition, the Form 4s, the Form 2s who wanted to do their ND examinations before they transition to the next level, now they have to wait. The year has just come to an end, because Litain Boys High School, which is now the worst case scenario of those arrests, has been closed indefinitely. I remember I was in school, we went on strike. No, we never went on strike. We almost went on strike. But then I don't think it would have gotten to the case where would have flattened the entire school. By the way, some of this, even at girls' schools, you would imagine that girls will be a bit docile when it comes to striking. Some of them have completely destroyed their schools as well. It's a conversation that we're going to have this week. And I would really appreciate if you give us your feedback on this one. What do you think is a problem around this particular issue that we're talking about this morning? All right. Let's also look at other stories. I'm going to read this morning. That story, by the way, has been covered on page 4. Diplomacy, Kenya-US trade tariff to triple on AGOA expiry, job losses loom. Now, Kenya's average weighted trade tariff with the US will nearly triple to 28% on expiry of the Preferential African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA. That story has been covered on page 12. There's also a story here on health. On members now say SHA is misleading on a premium benefits. Now, lawmakers accuse the state of promising enhanced medical cover than what the Social Health Authority is delivering. The situation has seen many patients ask to pay extra money to cover the deficit. That story has been covered on page 13, and we've really spoken so much on this particular story here on SHA, on the failures of this particular health scheme in the country. And remember, it's in the testing phase. We do expect that after 1 year, after it's been running, that's when we are going to see the full implementation of SHA, and you can see the challenges that the scheme is already facing. All right, let's cross over then to the back page. You're going to read a story of Lillian Odera on breaking a record that had been in place for 42 years and just concluded Berlin Marathon. She says that running cross-country did the trick for her, as she recalls the remarkable race that saw her win the 800 world title and break a record that has been standing since 1983. Yeah, it's a record that was even in place before some of us were born, without revealing our true ages this morning. It's a beautiful story here. You're going to read it on the back page of the Daily Nation. Good. Let's cross over to the Standard. It's talking about a professor who even purported to have found the cure for HIV and AIDS. And here's the story. Abel is a flawed genius. That's what the story is talking about here. And even before I read for you what the story is about, I'm going to read for you this quote, this famous quote that is talking about how Africa must break away from the enslavement of the West. And it says that we must not allow them to use science to keep us bolstered up. India and China broke away from the evil grip of Muzungus. They have a thriving and very successful culture of traditional medicine. In India and China, Western medicine is the alternative medicine. If it is in those two nations, if I was in those two nations, I would be celebrated and supported by all government institutions. That is a very famous quote by one Professor Arthur Obel, and a controversy surrounding Pal Omega. Now, let's talk about it then. He died in Nairobi after battling a prostate cancer. He was a towering yet polarizing figure in Kenya's medical history. Brilliant, disciplined, and eccentric. He claimed to have developed a controversial HIV and AIDS remedy, Pal Omega, which bought him both patience, gratitude, and fears rejection by local and global health authorities. To some, he was a savior. To others, a quack driven by delusion and discord, who conned the desperate, a strict academic with a photographic memory of hell, also quoted scandal from gun incidents to bitter scientific wars. That story has been covered on the Standard on page 6 and 7. They're calling him the flawed genius. Interesting reader there on the Standard this morning. There's a story here on page 8 as well. On our court now slaps ban on disgraceful habit of detaining bodies over unpaid medical bills. And the story reads, the High Court has ordered Mater Hospital to release the body of a patient who died there on August 2nd, ruling that the body is not property and cannot be held as collateral for debt. That story has been covered on page 8. By the way, I know stories of where hospitals have even held to deceased patients for over 6 months. 6 months, just because you do not have the money to get your relative or your deceased relative to be released from these health facilities in the country. They're held for 6 months. It's a landmark ruling in the country that you cannot hold onto a body, that the body is not property, you can't hold it as collateral, that hospitals have to look for different ways to get their money back. Interesting. Quickly then, let me cross over to what is trending this morning on your socials, and I'm going to start with what we've seen in the country as it is this morning. It is IEBC. It is trending. Now, here's the thing: if you do not know, the IEBC registration exercise did kick off on was it yesterday? Yes, 29th of September. That's what they're saying. And I will read for you some of the communications that we're seeing from IEBC this morning. It's talking about the CVR exercise will take place in all 290 constituencies, supported by 57 Huduma centers for accessibility. Transfers and corrections will continue to be handled in constituency offices. The Commission projects a register of 28.5 million voters in 2027. To reach this, we have designed a first approach, CVR, commencing yesterday. That is on the 29th. Now, the first enhanced CVR, 40% of a conclusion on the 27th of November, 2025 by-elections, and the second enhanced CVR, 50% beginning in the next financial year. That is next year, by June. All right? And this is what they're saying, that voter registration is the foundation of democracy. When our people register, they claim their rightful place in shaping the future of Kajiado and Kenya large, right? That's the one in Kajiado yesterday, yes. And they were looking at how that registration exercise was taking place in the country as well. So the question I'm asking you this morning is, have you registered? Have you confirmed that you are a voter? If you've not been registered, and if you just turned 18 between 2022 and now, it means that you are eligible to vote in this country. So make sure that indeed you take your vote, register, so that when it comes to making decisions that are going to shape the leadership of this country, you're not just being told on exactly what to do, you're part and parcel of the decisions that you are making in this country. Good. That's exactly what it is. This morning also, now from there, I've seen a lot of Kenyans really come up to speak on some of the advancements that we've seen come from what the IEBC really plans to do in this voter registration drive. Let me read for you a tweet by Shola. And I just read that IEBC will now be taking ID details, photos, iris scans, that's your eye, and fingerprints from new voters. That's how they're making that voter registration drive bulletproof, according to them. Honestly, this feels excessive and dangerous. And this is what Shola is saying this morning. This is why she's worried. The truth is Kenya doesn't yet have strong laws to protect biometric data. Our current Data Protection Act calls it sensitive, but doesn't spell out how it should be collected, stored, encrypted, or deleted. That is according to Shola. How long IEBC can keep it, what happens if it's breached, and if users should be notified. Yeah, goes on to say how in the last election we did know that indeed some kits went missing, and to date we've not been told whether indeed they've been recovered as well. That's some of the concerns that we're getting from Shola this morning on this new registration angle for IEBC. Good. Let me just seen KOT Sonko, that's what they call themselves this morning, at Mabonga, who's saying that just seen CJ Emeritus David Maraga with Gen Zs at IEBC Registration Center in Resambo this morning to encourage Kenyans to turn out and register as voters. If you haven't registered, then it's your time to also go in and get your name on that. All right. So this is from Kenyans as well. IEBC to scan ID, fingerprint, iris, and capture photo of voter in latest voter registration exercise. Just because of that, again, you can see how Kenyans have really gone online. Also, iris is trending this morning. Iris is just your eye. Yeah, just a reminder of where that is. Good. And let's see what Kenyans are saying on this one as well. Here we are. Just sampling one or two tweets on what Kenyans are saying on their iris registrations. This is Cyprian who's saying, wow, were we updated on our iris scans? What does the law state on this one? And is IEBC well guided before they use this as a way to register voters across the country? That's one question that has been asked by Cyprian this morning. Finally, on this one, just before we talk about our main topic this morning, this professor was saying, can IEBC explain why they're scanning people's iris during voter registration? Since when did voting require biometric eye data? The majority of Kenyans are concerned on this one because we're used to fingerprints as a way to confirm your voter identity in biometric terms. Now IEBC has a new one on iris scanning, and that's what majority of Kenyans are concerned about this morning. No wonder this one is trending as number 2 in your trends this morning. I'm not going to really speak so much about football this morning. It looks like Kenyans really are talking so much on football. There's the Linda Mama conversation in the country, and this is coming also from what Uhuru Kenyatta spoke over the weekend, last week, sorry, about how the current government has replaced the Linda Mama initiative with a scheme that has not been tried and tested. We've seen how government officials have come out heavily to bash President Uhuru Kenyatta on his statements on this particular one. And Linda Mama has been trending just because of that. And majority of Kenyans are really talking on it. Let me just read for you a couple of tweets. Cornelius Ronald saying, Linda Mama replaced by Linda Baba. Case closed. Really funny this morning on what exactly you're talking about. Moses Kuria comes out to say the solidarity young people are giving to, not this one essentially. Let me also talk about the last tweet on this one. Comrades, Linda Mama was genius. Women walking to the hospital, gave birth, walked out safe, and didn't owe any single cent. Any sane man knows that that should have protected the scheme. It gave women dignity in delivery, no bills, no fear. Scrapping it was madness. That is the tweet from Eric this morning. Justine Wamai this morning. Good morning, Mheshimiwa. If you're listening to us this morning, been talking to you to come to the studios. Hopefully we'll have that conversation very soon. All right, she's saying this morning, You have all concluded that Linda Mama was replaced by Linda Baba Raila. Barabara kabisa. All right. Finally, on this one, Bulezi Otieno was saying that Linda Mama was free at point of service. Show your ID, prove you are Kenyan, and you got maternal care covered. That's how public health policy is supposed to work. No barriers, no hidden bills, no humiliation at the hospital gate. On that note then, that's exactly what Kenyans are talking about this morning. You can also get involved. I've already asked you about what you think about the current strikes that are ongoing in majority of secondary schools across the country just before they sit their end year examinations. I'll also be waiting to hear your sentiments on that. All right, now let's talk about that big conversation on organic food in the country. What is Kenya's reality? Do you know where we stand as a country when it comes to organic food? Why should you be worried about what is on your plate this morning? And do you know that the Kenya National Bureau of Standard KEBS has recently found pesticides traces in over half of vegetables sold in Kenyan markets? Now, that raises a concern. And when you ask yourself on exactly where we are as a country in this organic food conversation, only just 5% of our farmlands are certified organic farms. Should you be worried? Why is the country and the world moving? This morning, we do have a special guest that I'm going to introduce shortly before we come back from this break to have this particular conversation. Good morning. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage. I'll meet you on the other side of this break.
People are there to belittle you. When people are questioning you,
if you don't move fast, of course, yes, you lose it, but then it's not us to push you.
But you do not know the God who has been molding me. What has he been doing to me?
The deep and mature conversations of empowerment for you with a curious mind and an appetite for oriented conversations.
I concur with what you're saying.
You plan your finances, you can easily live without a debt.
An engaging safe space of free expression and truthfulness with an upheld vibrance, motivation and happiness.
So many children who are there, they are not living their dreams.
Join us for deep conversations with Zipporah Gashushe every Saturday from 8 p.m. The Deeper Conversations on Look Up TV.
For you to forgive someone who has hurt you? How easy is it? What are some tips, a person can apply to improve their public speaking skills?
We all have personality lazy somewhere around us.
In my mind, whenever I'm invited for a public speaking event, I don't like to put a lot of, accessories or too many colors.
What are the major things to look out when choosing a school for a child?
Another cheesy conversation starter is, men do this a lot. They look familiar. Have we met before? No. We met in
Nobody's buying that line again.
No, we don't. We don't buy it anymore.
Do you need a dose of hope? If so, you are in the right place. We think of ourselves around here as hope dealers, delivering truth, power, and inspiration to hearts and minds all over the world. If nothing else has worked for you, why not give the God thing a try? For it's in the presence of God that you'll find everything that you need. Amen.
People are there to belittle you. When people are questioning you,
If you don't move fast, of course, yes, you lose
Yeah.
it, but then it's not us to push you.
but you do not know the God who has been molding me, what has he been doing to me?
The deep and mature conversations of empowerment for you with a curious mind and an appetite for oriented conversations.
I concur with what you're saying.
You plan your finances, you can easily live without a debt.
An engaging safe space of free expression and truthfulness with an upheld vibrance, motivation and happiness.
So many children who are there, they are not living their dreams.
Join us for deep conversations with Zipporah Gashushe every Saturday from 8 p.m. The Deeper Conversations on Look Up TV.
I recall the doctor telling me that day, he said, Sarah, I'm sorry about what happened to you, but you see, life happens. You would have to learn to work with your hands, depend on your hands more.
And today, if you're going through anything that you do not understand, just call on this name, Jesus, and he will save you.
I realized I loved music when I was about 7 or 8. I used to puff my cheeks and play the 12-bar blues. Like I'd walk around the house doing like.
Why do we need the Holy Spirit?
I mean, if you look at what Jesus said when he was leaving, he said he is going and that he will send the Holy Spirit as our helper.
So God knows everything since the end, from the beginning, has a plan for your life. So to find that plan for your life, you must find God. When you find God, you will know the path for your life.
Welcome back. In case you are just joining us, this is Look Up TV. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage, and you are watching The Morning Drift. I want to ask you the question, do you know what you're eating? Why is that question important to you this morning? And if you don't, why is that a risk you should ask? Now, if you look at some of the data points that I'm going to give you this morning, so probably that question will start making sense to you. Now, organic food has become one of the fastest growing conversations in Kenya, driven by rising health concerns and fears over chemical residues in everyday meals. Now, let's look at this study by KEBS that found that nearly half of all the vegetables that majority of Kenyans are taking, they have pesticides residues. And this raised alarm on the safety of the foods on the Kenyan tables. Also, meanwhile, only a small fraction of the country's farmland, that is just less than 5%, is certified organic, despite growing consumer demand and a global organic market now valued at more than $200 billion US dollars. So it shows you the majority of consumers want to go organic. But then in Kenya, advocacy groups like the Consumer Grassroots Association, led by Alex Kemunto, are pushing for stronger awareness, stricter regulation, and policies to support smallholder farmers shifting to organic production. With 80% of Kenyans buying food from informal markets, questions remain about safety, certification, and affordability. This morning then, we sit down with the director for Consumer Grassroots Association, Alex Kemunto, to unpack the state of organic food in Kenya, the risks of unchecked agrochemicals, and the promise of healthier, sustainable choices for millions of households. And for those people that don't know, it's time for you to take your pen and paper out. because some of the conversation we're going to have this morning are going to shape the way you make your choices on the foods that you put on your plate. Alice, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm happy to have you around.
Happy to be back here again.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Yes.
Yeah. But
even before we jump into this conversation, there are some numbers that I've put across this morning when I was doing my research on where we are as a country in terms of this organic food conversations. And this is what I found: less than 5% of our farmland in the country is certified organic. That's less than 5%. And if you look at what organic farming is worth worldwide, according to World Food Organization, it is $200 billion US dollars. But look at where we are, 5%. Alice, are we as a country pushing towards organic farming, or are we pushing away from organic farming? What does this number really indicate?
First I want to do a disclaimer I want to put across. I'm here for the interests of the consumer.
That's it.
And maybe if I had a farmer, they could have told us why this is not happening or why it's happening.
Yes.
But you see, we're also concerned as consumers, why is it not happening? Okay, as a country, are we headed the right direction? Actually looking by the demand from consumers and what is available in the market, there's a gap, a huge gap that needs to be filled, because more consumers are demanding for safer food. More consumers are demanding for organically produced food.
Yes.
And even though to speak, and nowadays we're embracing what we call agroecologically produced food. That's what consumers are demanding for. There's a survey we did, and that the findings were quite alarming, that 9 out of 10 Kenyans are worried about the food they're eating. 9 out of 10 Kenyans are worried. So going by that, it means that almost every Kenyan is worried about what they are consuming, what is on their plate. And we went further to ask the consumers, now, what next? You know, some were like, we are just eating to survive, we have no option. But if we had options, then we could have gone for safer food.
Yes.
We went further to ask, are you willing to pay much more, something extra, to consume a safe food, to have safe food in your plate? Consumers were like, yes, I would rather reduce the quantity, but I consume what is safe. That is the status now from the consumer angle. But when you come to the market and from the production area, I mean, there's little that is happening. But also, we sought to find out, why are farmers not producing organic food?
Yes.
One, it comes with the cost of certification. Two, it comes with the produce itself, because they say that they produce less than when they use the conventional method.
Yes.
Three, there are also a section of consumers that are driving that, because when they bring organically produced food to the market, there's some consumers that opt to go for the conventional ones because of the appealing, the color, and I mean, it's, so to speak, it appeals to the eye than the food that is produced organically. So those are some of the sentiments we got from consumers. Remember that in Kenya, we don't do large-scale farming as such.
Yes.
The smallholder farmer is the one that is feeding a large percentage of Kenyans.
Yes.
So going by that, it means that we need to do extra work to educate the consumers to continue demanding for safer food,
yes,
but also for farmers also to work hard and ensure that what they're producing is safe. You talked about 5% of our farmland being certified organically. We've been using the hazardous pesticides for the longest period. Basically, most of our farmland is sick. I mean, our soils are sick as it is right now. and they need to be regenerated. They need to be healed, and the only way to heal is to add what can be able to heal the soil, and that is like the manures, adding the biofertilizers, adding those inputs that will be able now to regenerate the soil from its state right now back to what it used to be. And it's a process, because you need somebody to do the soil testing, and after doing soil testing, they'll advise you which kind of inputs that you're supposed to use to ensure that, because our soils are also not the same. One part of the country could be testing differently from the other side of the country, and that's why we need scientists to calm down, let them do the soil testing, ensure that what they're advising you to use as a farmer, you use it correctly, and that comes with a cost, and that's why they're shying off from employing such people to come and work with them, contracting them to come and work with them.
Yes.
And number 3, organic farmers, and for the longest period have not been supported by government. When you get subsidy on fertilizers, used to be for the synthetic fertilizers, it's now that is starting to pick up, that also organic fertilizer and other inputs also need to be subsidized by the government. So a farmer could rather go for something cheaper that government is subsidizing than going for something expensive that maybe the NGOs and other actors are telling them, you see. And but we are grateful. We have started the baby steps, and I believe we'll be there, because last year we launched the National Agroecology Strategy, which promotes agroecological farming practices. And agroecological farming practices are beyond, way and beyond organic farming. Organic farming is part of it, but agroecology is superior than organic farming. Yes. Why do I say so? Because in agroecology, it encourages you to produce what can do best in your own ecosystem, and not trying to copy what other people are doing in another area. So if you can thrive and produce the best from your area, we can now be able even to exchange. For example, if in eastern part of this country, we can be able to do very good fruits, then we can exchange with the western part of this country, where they can be able to produce vegetables, the green leafy vegetables, and maize and all that. So if we can encourage people to produce what is able, what can do well in their own ecosystem, then yes, we are now going back to work with nature, so that nature can take care of us.
That's it.
Okay, so that's what you're promoting. So the government has owned that, through the Ministry of Agriculture and ISFA, that is the Intersectoral Forum for Agrobiodiversity and Agroecology,
yes,
where Consumer Grassroots is a member. It's actually a platform where government and civil society meet, okay? So we were able now to come up with that strategy, and that strategy is what now we have started implementing, and we are encouraging the counties to look at the strategy and ensure that they make sure it's implemented down at the grassroots.
Pretty much.
So with that in mind, and with those steps, once government shows goodwill, then now I can say we'll start moving towards the right
direction.
Actually, by launching that strategy, that is starting moving towards the right direction.
That's it.
I think I've given a handful out of the question that
pretty much.
asked.
It's a good one, because it actually points us to what I wanted to ask next. I mean, the consumer is central to any development that may happen in any sector in the country. I was looking at your report. It did show that 87% of consumers are very worried about pesticides misuse. And over half believe that food safety is seriously compromised in the markets. Also, when I was doing my research, I just went over to a couple of videos that I found on TikTok, on social media, of Kenyans who are asking, why is my sukuma, and I came across sukuma, I said that I came across a very interesting video, Alice, that I have to show you. So I found a lady who said, I'm going to test for you the sukuma that we eat here in Nairobi and the sukuma that I get from home that is organically grown. Right, so this lady prepared this sukuma and then let it settle overnight. By the time the sukuma that she bought from Nairobi was getting to the next day, it had gone bad, smelly, rotting. But the sukuma that she purportedly got from home, grown organically from their garden, it was still fresh, ready to be eaten the next day. Then I saw a lot of contributions in that video of Kenya saying, you know, this because of pesticides, even the water that is used to irrigate this sukuma is also, you know, laden with a lot of pesticides as well. That's why the sukuma that you're buying from the city probably will go very bad because it's grown commercially, so you guys can have it in plenty. But that be it, do you think that with what you've launched currently as it is, we're going to get to the level where we're having proper regulations that are guiding the use of pesticides in our farms in the country? And in that regard, where is the consumer in knowing the pesticides that are being used in farming what we take as food in this country?
That question is very key, and there are many questions in one.
Yes, yes.
First, you talked about the study and the use or misuse of pesticides. In that study, if you go deeper, you realize that we also found out that those who are growing for commercial purposes, they are applying double standard.
That's it.
Because they get a small portion, and that is actually when you were collecting data, this is what we found out. They get a small portion where they grow for their own consumption as a family, and the larger portion is for the commercial purposes, and that's where they use the chemicals, the hazardous pesticides and all. But their small portion, they don't apply anything. And when we sought to ask the reason why they used, some used the Swahili statement that hiyo ndio mnapendanga, hiyo ndio mnapendanga, hiyo ndio inafurahisha macho yenu. You see? But if you look at the small kitchen garden where they prepare for their family use, it may not look so appealing, but actually it's safer. Because there's no pesticide that they use there. And this is what is happening in ask any other producer. They will tell you whatever we produce, we don't consume in our homes. It's meant for the market. And we ask them, who is that market? Maybe your daughter, your son will be in Nairobi where you are taking these vegetables, yes, and they will go to a restaurant and they'll eat the same vegetables. So that is the reality that we have in this country. What does that tell us? It's not that the farmers don't know.
Yes.
They know the effects of those pesticides that they use. And now when you start using those pesticides, they confess to us that you start using in a small portion, but as time goes by, the effectiveness goes down.
Yes.
So they have to add the quantity of the pesticides that they are using on their produce. And what does that do? Where does that pesticide, where do the residues go? The residues go to the produce when we harvest.
Yeah.
The residues go to the soil. The residues go to our water levels, and we drink water that are contaminated, water that is contaminated, food that is contaminated. And that is, we are surrounded with all those levels. As we say in consumer grassroots, whatever you eat, if it's not safe, then that is not food. So ideally what they're producing is not food. It looks like food, but it's not food. It's not food.
Yes.
So I said you asked so many questions in one. And where is the consumer in all this? And we may not be able to get there as fast as we may want, but we have started doing the right thing towards the right direction.
Yes.
So where is the consumer? Our initiatives, the initiatives that we have started as Consumer Grassroots Association, are bringing out consumers now to start even speaking, having conversation about the safety of the food. We have what we call the Consumer Farmer Connect. That's a project that we just started, an initiative we started, because we noticed that if we take consumers to town halls, then they don't get the real-time experience and getting to know what farmers go through. So we take them to organic farms to learn more and appreciate what that farmer is doing. That if when they come out of there, we've seen some change. Some of them have even started their own kitchen gardens that are organic. Some of them, now they go to the market and ask questions. They want to trace their food to the source. That's part of the training that we do. We tell consumers, please, know where your food is coming from. Ask the right questions. Ask the person that is selling, the business person, where did you get this food from? Where did you source this food from? And that one will cause the business person to ask the supplier, where are you sourcing this food from? So that way, when we start asking the right questions, then now we'll go toward the right direction of achieving food safety in Kenya. Because right questions about our safety shows that we are conscious about our safety. We are concerned about our safety, not only us, but even those of our children and those that concerns us. So that way, it will help us now to make, to awaken the Kenyan conscience, so to speak, to ensure that what we produce is safe for our own consumption. And number 3, where is the consumer? The consumer is asking also, we are encouraging consumers to ask the right questions regarding the standards. You realize that we are applying double standards in our fresh produce. The fresh produce meant for export, the standards are very high. The chemical residues are nearly 0. But what is consumed locally? The standards, I mean, we don't, it's like we really don't care about the standards as such.
And Alice, I'm sorry to cut you short, because that was actually my next question that was asked to put to you this morning. And let me just put it for the sake of our audience that is listening to you. And they gave me a very specific example. That Simba, go check what it takes to export avocados from this country. Before you get that certificate, the process of certification is meticulous. Where those avocados are being grown, what type of pesticides you used, that agricultural officer will give you that pesticides. In fact, they even have certificates of the quantity that you bought and the acreage that was used to apply on those avocados. And then they said, make a mistake of not giving NOS, your entire produce will be rejected. But then they said, why don't we say that locally? And this is what they said. Is it because of the informal nature of business in our fresh produce in the country, where more than half of Kenyans, they get their fresh produce from these local kiosks? I mean, the mama mbogas, the so-called mama mbogas in our towns and cities in the country, they don't need to present a certificate to you. What you do, you just get what has been given to them. Is that where the rain starts beating us, Alice?
Rain starts beating us in lack of information. And even when we have information, we don't want to take it seriously. A lack of information for the section of consumers actually who don't have information about this. They are not exposed. And that's why they can just consume because, and naturally, you know, as Kenyans, we are trusting. naturally we are trusting. We trust, this is our neighbor, it was just grown here. Hii ni mzuri sana. You see, we are naturally trusting. But I mean, lawyers usually tell us, I have a lawyer in the house at CGA, and she usually tells us that, you know, ignorance is not a defense. You see, if you're ignorant of what is there. But the fact is, those things are happening. So one, it's lack of awareness of consumers about the safety of what they're eating, and a lack of awareness of their rights, because consumers also need to know their rights. Actually, the right to consume that safe food, it's in our constitution. We've been given to that. I mean, that has been given to us. Number two, those consumers out there, they are very serious with their health, and their governments, they are also very, very keen on what is coming to their country.
Yes.
But don't forget, they're the ones who produce those pesticides that are now sold in Africa. But whatever, if we use the same pesticides on the food and we take it back to them, they wouldn't want that. They wouldn't want it. Because they produce for Africa but not for their own consumption. That is double standard. So what have we done so that we ensure? Actually, what I said, that it's about awareness, and for those who are not aware, yes. But there are those who are aware but they don't care.
Yes.
Also, there's that don't care attitude among the people, the consumers in this country.
That's it.
But what do we do so that we achieve this? I would want to encourage and to employ on on the government, mm-hmm. to ensure that all the pesticides that are used, that are hazardous, have been withdrawn from the Kenyan market. You see, that way, it will not give room, because what will they consume? Because farmers are also consumers of those products.
That's it.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So what will they consume if it's not there in the market? It will force them to resort to other methods. Look at the COVID period. During the COVID period, you were not getting any consignments from out there. And people now started even producing food organically. People started using manure. People started going to the traditional way of doing things. And we didn't die then. I wish, I'm not really praying that we could be having more of that COVID, but if that period prolonged, believe you me, our soils could be healed by now. See? So what does that tell you? We have alternatives. So if we can get rid of those pesticides, and I want to thank the minister. The other day he said he gave a list, and he also told PCPP to ensure that what has been confirmed to be harmful and hazardous has to be withdrawn from the shelves. That's it. And I want to thank, because at least we have a minister now who is forthcoming, and who is ensuring, taking the welfare of consumers very, very seriously, and the food that we are eating here.
That's it.
So if we get rid of those pesticides, there's little that we can put to our soil. So which means even that consumer that is not aware will not be exposed to food that is unsafe.
That's it.
Yes.
Pretty much. This conversation just begins, and because I do have so many questions that I'll put through to Alice this morning, especially on certification. At what point, as a country, are you going to walk into your kiosk or your supermarket, and then you'll have these certificates where you're being told that the skuma that you're buying is organic and the one that is next is not organic, so that you can be able to make that choice. Once we come back, we make sense of these numbers. In the country, we do have more than 62,000 organic farms, but only 0.6% of agricultural land is certified organic. What is this certification that we're talking about? Are the costs pushing away farmers from it? And what can we do so that we have more of these organic certified practices in the country? Once we come back right here on The Morning Drift, if you do have any other question, you can put it across on your WhatsApp number.
taarifa zinapochipuka na kutufikia papa hapa kwenye makao makuu ya chumba cha habari cha runinga ya Lookup, kwenye taifa, kwenye serikali, kwenye bunge, tunajitosa hadi kwenye sauti ya wenyeji ili kupata tu maoni ya wenyeji kuhusu masuala haya yanayochipuka.
Maana hii kitu inaenda kuumiza Mkenya kwa tax.
Hakuna kitu tunafurahia. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Sisi tunaumia, si ati tunaumia ile ya kiukweli. Juu maisha ni ngumu.
Na bila shaka tunapata maoni yao ili sauti yao ipate kusikika. Na watasema hili, waseme lile, watasema hiki na waseme kile, almuradi sauti yao ipate taa.
Mambo ya mafuta tena imekuwa ni changamoto zaidi kwa kila mtu wa bodaboda.
Uchumi ikikuwa stable, tunaamini mambo itakuwa sawa sawa.
Kwanza alikuwa na ria wasi wa boda, mama mboga nini. Hawa sasa ndio wamefinywa zaidi mali.
Mpenzi mtazamaji, hii ni bunge la wenyeji.
I recall the doctor telling me that day, he said, Sarah, I'm sorry about what happened to you, but you see, life happens. You would have to learn to work with your hands, depend on your hands more.
And today, if you're going through anything that you do not understand, just call on this name, Jesus, and he will save you.
I realized I loved music when I was about 7 or 8. I used to puff my cheeks and play the 12-bar blues. Like I'd walk around the house doing like...
Why do we need the Holy Spirit?
I mean, if you look at what Jesus said when he was leaving, he said he is going and that he will send the Holy Spirit as our helper.
So God knows everything since the end, from the beginning, has a plan for your life. So to find that plan for your life, you must find God. When you find God, you will know the path for your life.
Save a Life is a non-profit organization that has taken the front line in transforming lives in the entire country. So far, we have transformed the life of over 100,000 people through our programs, which include medical support, youth empowerment, street family program, feeding program, and climate change. Join us today as we transform lives. As we always say, service to humanity is service to God. Save a life, transforming lives.
All right, welcome back to the Morning Drift. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage, talking about this conversation for organic farming in the country. Where are we as a nation? What is our reality? And do you know what you're taking in your plate this morning? Interesting conversations that are coming through. All right, we're still with the director of Consumer Grassroots Association, Alex Kamunto, in the studio this morning. Now, let's talk about certification, because that's where we need to move toward as a country, so that we can give the consumer the choices that they're asking for, that majority of them would like to have currently as it is, but they do not. What do we need to do to make the process of certification easier for majority of the farmers or producers in this country who may want to be identified as organically certified but have not?
Before I respond to that question, we are alive to the fact that most of the population now is in urban areas.
That's it.
And in urban areas, there's little farming that takes place there. So for that reason, most people have now started getting or sourcing their food in supermarkets, in other organized markets, and a few going to, not a few, but also quite a number goes to the open air markets.
Yes.
Looking at the supermarkets, right now we have Carrefour who have organic space, organic shelves, okay? And that's where most of those people who may want to purchase from supermarket, they can go. But we are asking also other supermarkets to follow suit, and they ensure that they also have organically produced food in their shelves. And clearly labeled, this is organic and this is inorganic. Now, when we talk of certification, I may also want to know, why is it that the conventional produced food that is consumed locally is never certified? Because I've not seen that certification of the locally produced, conventionally produced food, but we are being pushed that the organically produced food needs to be certified. What does that tell you? That's an impediment. That's a hindrance to have even more people to do organic farming, even for their businesses. But for the export, that has been very, very strict. And as I said before, we have double standard, that what we are producing as a country, what is meant for export is more safer than what is consumed locally. Yes. And apparently, whatever is rejected ends up in our markets here. Whatever is rejected at the airport, when they want to export, it ends up in our market. Yeah, it comes back to our market, and we consume very cheaply. You go there and you get mishiri very cheaply, and you are wondering, where did this come from? Actually, it's the consignment that was rejected. That's what you are consuming here locally. So, talking about the standards, actually, we want to get to that level because, as I said, most people now living in urban areas and would be getting food, or they are getting already food, even fresh produce from the supermarkets. It's key that we get food that is certified from organic farmers. What we need to do, right now there are some organizations, but you want government to take up, not just organizations, civil society organizations that are doing the job that government is supposed to do. Yes. So there are some organizations that are assisting in the same process, and they do what they call group certification. So it makes it cheaper for you to be certified as an organic farmer, as a group, than going individually. If you go individually, it's very, very expensive. But if you go as a group, now you can now cut down that cost. Number two, and I said, I'm not speaking as a farmer. I'm not I'm not qualified to speak as a farmer, though I'm also doing farming myself for my own consumption. That's it. Not for business, not for commercial purposes. But the issue is we also have other organizations that use what they call the PGS. PGS helps the farmers to guarantee themselves, as in you are like a brother's keeper or a sister's keeper. So it's like you are helping each other to share information, and also we help to watch, and I can guarantee that Simba is producing this food organically. Okay? Participatory guarantee system is that we are in a group, we follow each other what we are doing, and we can be able now to guarantee to even the consumer that true, this person is producing organic food. That is happening farmer to farmer. So going forward, we're also asking and requesting those farmers to involve consumers, so that consumers can also guarantee that what you are producing is safe. How do we do this? We are neighbors. If we are neighbors, we can be able to tell in the normal conventional production, we can be able to tell Simba yesterday sprayed, that's the word we use, sprayed the tomatoes, and today they have harvested. How did I know? I was able to see. Yes. There are those workers who are working there, we are able to to interact with, okay? So the same way, we are asking the organic farmers to involve even consumers, just to ensure that what they're producing is key. I was sharing with one of our colleagues when we were meeting in our IFARM. IFARM is the International Federation for the Organic Farmers. And they told us that for them, in their country, they ensure that farmers and consumers converge. And what they do, when they're producing, they already have pre-orders from consumers. And the consumers follow through the processes that they're using. So by the time they harvest, they have the market, and the consumers are sure of the safety of the food they're getting from that farmer. So I'd really wish that we stop being lazy and try to find out where our food is coming from.
Yes.
Because we can't be everywhere to protect you as a consumer, but you have a responsibility. Actually, the primary responsibility rests with the consumer by asking the right questions, by following up. So, but PGS will help the consumers to get to know where their foods are coming from. And by more organic markets are coming up, and we are encouraging consumers also to go and find out who is doing organic farmers around them. For example, here in Karen, there are some 3 organic markets that take place there. Kiserian, we have one. In fact, in Nairobi, we are now encouraging and we are looking towards having, even in the markets, we want to have organic stalls in the market.
That's it.
So that when you go, you are not able to go to the supermarket and you are in the general market that you like, let's say the city market or Mukulima market, you can be able to go to an organic corner and get food from there. And since every produce in Kenya that is taken to the market, you have to pay for it, what we are asking the government, because the production of organic food is a bit high, the cost is a bit high, they need to subsidize even the licenses for the organic food. That one will act as an incentive to produce even more for our own consumption. And government should be happy that farmers are ready to produce organic food, because at the end of it all, look at the benefits.
Yes.
The benefits of consuming safe food. Even the government will be spending less in hospitals, in medicine that they bring to our hospitals.
Do you feel like now the concern for the government is not on that we, and I got that concern yesterday, by the way, was not having this conversation again as we were drafting it, that our concern as a country is not even on the quality, that we are that place where we're even struggling to feed ourselves. It's on the quantity that we're producing as a country. That if you look at even when the government is hinged toward, it is producing more to feed the country as opposed now to producing the quantity. That's why the organic food conversation has not really taken effect so much within the government spaces.
I want to repeat by saying this: if it's not safe, that is not food. So much as we are talking about quantity, is it safe? Whatever we have in the market, whatever we are producing, is it safe? We need to ask that question over and over again. You know, it's like unataka mtu akufe, akule sumu pole 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 akikufa, yani inamuua pole 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 pole, and then you tell me for the sake of wacha tumpatie hii. No. The fact here is, much as they are saying that it's true, and that's a narrative that was sold to us by some other people that I don't want to mention here. Yes. That first of all, make sure you have enough before you talk about safety. That's nonsense. It's nonsense. Actually, it goes hand in hand. Food security and food safety goes hand in hand. So if we are producing this, ensure that what is being produced is safe. Okay? And the government, knowing that even if they say that they are more concerned about the food security, they themselves actually started what we call IPM, Integrated Pest Management.
Yes.
They started because they realized that farmers are overusing or misusing pesticides, they started now to integrate so that it can reduce the amount of pesticides that are being used. So it's not that they don't know, they know about it. So much as we are talking about quantity, the safety aspects cannot be left out. Okay, so are we producing enough? So if you ask government, so what are you doing to produce enough? What do they say? I don't know. What are they doing to produce enough for the country? Because considering that government's responsibility is to ensure that the environment is conducive for those who are producing, the smallholder farmers, are able to produce what is being consumed. What government will tell you, oh, we have given them subsidized fertilizers. But apparently, there's something that has changed. Where, I mean, we gave government credit where it's due. Because much as they give synthetic, they give the equal measure of bio-fertilizers.
That's it.
So that has started right now, so that we can slowly start healing the soil. But then, do we have also enough food in this country? Yeah, the answer is yes and yes. We are able to produce enough food for this country. We produce a lot of food in this country, but the food that is wasted along the value chain is equally a lot. It's about 40% that's wasted along the value chain. Each stage of the food chain, food is wasted or is mishandled. Even when it comes to safety, the handling of that food also is not done sometimes in the right way. What is used, the vessels that are used to transport food from one place to another, are they of the best quality? Are they the recommended ones? Many times, no. Okay? So we are producing enough. The problem is the wastage and the food loss that we also encounter. Because if we could minimize that, then there could be enough food for us to consume in this country. Number two, distribution mechanisms. Food that is produced in some parts of this country ends up not getting to other parts of the country because there are no proper structures to ensure that that food gets to the consumer of another place. So that's also something that needs to be streamlined in a manner that consumers get enough from the other areas. And then when we talk about seasons, there are some fruits and also vegetables and other food. Seasons come and go. When they come, are we able to store the food to use when they're out of stock? So systems have to be changed. We need to have a systemic change in this country for that to happen.
That's it.
So, us as a Consumer Grassroots Association, we try to discourage much talk and we encourage action.
Much too, yes.
Okay? So, what have we done as an organization? In our own small way. After that study, that is survey that you went through, and to ensure that the food is safe, we petitioned the 3 county governments where we carried out the study, Kirinyaga, Nairobi, and Kajiado counties. We are happy to report that in Kajiado County, we've partnered with the county government of Kajiado, and now we have 5 legislations on agriculture, and food safety has really been taken into considerations in those acts. And the stage we are right now, we are doing the crop agriculture and pesticide regulation and tomato regulation. Those are 2 regulations that we are doing right now. That is in our own small way towards the right direction. And we are encouraging even other actors to do their own bit towards the right direction. So we are encouraging also, once we are done with these regulations, we are going to reach out to COG and we table what we have done in Kajiado and see if that can be replicated in other
the rest of the counties.
So in our small way, we have started walking the talk. So that's why we encourage less talk and more action.
That's it. Yes. Yeah. Right. I came across a policy that is on national organic policy. That policy has been a draft policy that has sat within government for quite a long time, at least. That policy is there, but it's still in the draft stage. In your own understanding, and it might look like another question on top of the question that I've already asked. I mean, what can we start to do as a nation to make sure that this, if over 87% of consumers in the market are worried about the food that they consume, that it means that this policy is the one that can come in and protect what they're consuming. What can we start doing, especially from your organization perspective as well? Can you start doing to make sure that this policy actually sees the light of the day?
Let Kenyans be Kenyans and Kenya be Kenya. Talking about the policies and the bills, this, when you just said that, it reminded me of what we had our input on, that is the food and feed policy, no, not policy, yes. Food and feed, yeah, there's a policy, yes. There's a policy and there's a bill that's supposed to become an act. Food and feed safety bill and also policy. We sat on it, we took our time, we gave our input, and we thought that's going to happen. What happens? We did it during the other regime.
Yes.
So when this regime came in, somebody in parliament tried to, actually it's the one of the government side MPs brought it on board, and that has never seen the light of the day. So you can imagine we are talking about food safety here, and we have a bill that's supposed to address that, and nobody is interested in ensuring it becomes an act. And here we are talking about food safety, same as the organic food, the organic strategy. Yes. Though much as we may want to push for that, and I don't want to be hanged by the organic farmers, as we continue pushing for that, we already have the National Agroecology Strategy,
yes,
where most of the issues that we are contained in that other strategy, the organic one, I think have been taken care of in the National Agroecology Strategy.
That's it.
For food systems transformation.
Yes.
I think if that is implemented, I think most of the issues will be addressed in that.
That's it.
So in our own small way, as I said before, we are going to continue working closely with the Ministry of Agriculture and other actors to ensure that that strategy is being implemented.
Yes.
As we will be doing the consumer sensitization of the same. Our main goal is to ensure that consumers know the benefits of consuming such kind of products, so that they can demand, the demand can grow for those products. Some organic farmers say, oh, even if we produce, there are no consumers who want to. It's because they don't know, most of them don't know the benefits of consuming the organic food or agroecological products.
That's it.
So once we continue mounting our pressure, educating consumers now, we will demand for
it's organic food.
Yeah.
Yes. But I know we have 3 minutes left for this conversation, and I don't know how time has rushed this morning. Now, your body has over 200,000 registered individuals. Do you think that this conversation on organic food in the country and where we are in reality as a country would make more sense if we have more registration in your organization that is going to amplify this message for consumer awareness? If I'm a member, then it means that the next person would essentially know what they're consuming, or we want to know exactly what I'm consuming. What are you doing to enhance registration, which would also impact your messaging and efforts for consumer awareness in the county levels?
Oh, right now we are about 210,000 registered members in Consumer Grassroots Association.
Yes.
And we would want to continue registering members. But going forward, we've noticed one thing. When you give out free registration, it's never taken seriously.
Yes.
So free things are never appreciated. So we want to introduce paid membership so that we can also get some support to continue amplifying this message of food safety.
Yes.
So going forward, we are coming up with a strategy to register members. I'm not saying that those ones are not going to be deregistered, no. But from now going forward, we want to have registered members, those who want to subscribe to become our members. And we'll still have this category of free registration. So every category will be having its own benefits. So if you feel that you want to continue to be registered as a member, in the category of the ones that are not paying anything, then it's so be it. But those that we want to bring on board, we want to bring serious membership that are going to even continue making decisions. A time has come and Consumer Grassroots has come of age to embrace everybody and let the people own the organization fully and make decisions, become members, become board members, and make decisions on how they want to drive this country. Because we want every other person, actually including the leadership of this country, to become members of Consumer Grassroots so that we can make decisions that benefit us as consumers in this country. So our plan is to roll out the membership, but the stages at which we are going to will give categories and you'll decide which one you want to join. And then we are going to be more proactive in sharing, sending messages to consumers about the safety of the food they are eating and other things, areas that affect consumers, or any information that needs to be passed to consumers.
Pretty much. Oof. Guess what? This morning, by the way, there was supposed to be a nutritionist on Saturday with us right here, but they didn't make it in good time. But this is a conversation that we need to advance. And I do promise that in the coming week, we're going to get the government perspective on where we are in the country. They'll be giving you information if you want to get registered on exactly how you can start to get registered as an organic farmer and where we are in making advances in what we've spoken about this morning. Like, can you walk into any store this morning and say, I want to take organic sukuma wiki? Is it possible for us to have that conversation in the country? And if not, then what we need to do. In conversation this morning with our Consumer Grassroots Association Director, Alice Kamunto, painting the real picture of where we are as a country in this organic food conversation. Alice, I'd like to have you next week to have that conversation with the government, isn't it?
Sure.
I'll welcome you back again.
Thank
All
you.
right, take her back online to the time that is joined us this morning online at Look at TV across all your social media platforms. I myself, I am at Kiaga Simba. Good morning. I'll see you tomorrow for another conversation.